I'm not here to talk about music. I'm here to talk about murder. Kanye West's Courtroom bombshell connects Diddy to Michael Jackson's final days. Viewer discretion is advised. The following account includes testimony from an ongoing federal trial involving Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press. While allegations remain unproven, the implications may change how we understand power in the entertainment industry. On a day already steeped in tension, Kanye West stepped into the Manhattan federal courtroom and turned a celebrity trial into a seismic cultural moment. What he revealed didn't just rattle the gallery, it brought the room to a standstill. Wearing black, no sunglasses, and with a steadiness that bordered on defiance, Kanye took the stand with the poise of a man carrying more than just his own truth. "I'm not here to talk about music," he said. "I'm here to talk about murder." The room gasped. The judge called for order, but no one could unhear it. From mogul to manipulator? Kanye didn't waste time with pleasantries or preamble. He pointed directly at Sean Diddy Combs, not as a producer, not as an entrepreneur, but as a man allegedly linked to the downfall of Michael Jackson himself. "Diddy isn't just a music mogul," Kanye stated. "He's part of the same hidden network that brought down the king of pop." And he didn't speak in metaphor. This was no rant, no meltdown, no vague conspiracy. This was an accusation delivered under oath, tethered to names, dates, and roles. Most notably that of Fahim Muhammad, Diddy's longtime head of security, and crucially, the man tasked with protecting Michael Jackson in the months before his death. Fahim Muhammad, guardian or gatekeeper? According to Kanye, Fahim Muhammad wasn't just a bodyguard. He was a handler, embedded in Jackson's final circle with a purpose, not to protect, but to monitor. He was placed there, Kanye told the court, to make sure Michael didn't speak. The implications were staggering. Fahim's trajectory, from a young college graduate to the personal security lead for both Michael Jackson and later Diddy, raised eyebrows in the room. Kanye asked a question that hung heavily in the air. How does a 20-something business grad go from campus to guarding Michael Jackson? Either he's a prodigy or he's something else entirely. Kanye claimed Fahim's placement wasn't coincidence. It was strategy, one designed to keep Jackson quiet as whispers of legal disputes, catalog rights, and industry betrayal swirled around him. The final phone call. Then came the moment that shifted the courtroom's energy from skepticism to stunned silence. Kanye testified that he had personally heard a recording of Michael Jackson's final phone call, a message laced with fear and unmistakable clarity. Michael said, "They're coming for me." And he didn't mean it as a metaphor. He named names. He named Clive Davis. And he named Diddy. It was the moment the courtroom froze. Kanye insisted this wasn't secondhand hearsay. He claimed the message was shared with him through a private channel by someone close to Jackson's estate, and he added that the warning wasn't exclusive to Michael. "They told me the same thing," Kanye continued. "Different words, same threat. Fall in line or disappear." The warning had allegedly been relayed to both men, two global icons known for disrupting the system. One didn't listen. The other, now under oath, was refusing to be silenced. The systemic takedown. Kanye framed his testimony not as personal vengeance, but as a window into a larger machine, a system that elevates stars until they begin asking questions. Then it tears them down. He referenced the infamous episode involving his former trainer, Harley Pasternak, who once suggested institutionalizing him during a mental health crisis. "The same people who tried to put me away," he said, "are the ones who circled Michael." The courtroom, still reeling from prior days of disturbing revelations about Diddy's alleged abuses, was now asked to connect the dots backwards, toward the final days of a pop icon whose death has long felt too complex for the official story. And then Kanye delivered his most damning line of the day. "You think Michael Jackson died because of one doctor? You think Prince overdosed on accident? Look at the pattern. Look at the handlers. Look at who profits when legends fall." The judge paused the proceedings. But the gallery wasn't breathing. This wasn't spectacle anymore. This was a man drawing a map of systemic destruction. A map that allegedly ends with the same name again and again. Tell them it's Puffy. He knows he's here. Kanye West alleges Michael Jackson's final words, pointed to Diddy and the man who was supposed to protect him. When Kanye West returned to the stand for his final testimony, the courtroom expected intensity. But what he delivered was far more than drama. It was a series of calculated, name-specific allegations that rewrote the final chapter of Michael Jackson's life, and may have just altered the trajectory of Diddy's defense. "Michael knew," Kanye said quietly, "and he left a message to prove it." Then he repeated the quote that stunned the gallery into silence. "Tell them it's Puffy. He knows he's here." According to Kanye, this chilling line came from Michael Jackson's final voicemail, a recording he claims was played for him in confidence by a member of the Jackson family. The message, whispered, urgent, and nearly indecipherable at points, allegedly featured a frantic and frightened Michael, breathing heavily and warning someone to tell them. The implication: Diddy was present, or at least involved, in the last hours of the King of Pop's life. The enigma of Fahim Muhammad, ghost or gatekeeper. Kanye's attention then turned sharply toward a man whose name is unfamiliar to most of the public, but is, by Kanye's account, deeply embedded in the highest and darkest echelons of the music industry: Fahim Muhammad. To the uninitiated, Fahim appears as a discreet figure, a security professional, a background presence. But to Kanye, he is the missing link, the quiet constant between two collapsing empires, Jackson's and Diddy's. "You ever wonder," Kanye asked the jury, "why the most famous man on earth put his life in the hands of a 20-year-old with zero high-level experience?" Kanye wasn't speculating for effect. He backed it up with a paper trail. Fahim Muhammad was just a recent Sacramento State graduate when he was tapped for one of the most sensitive security roles in the entertainment world, overseeing Michael Jackson's personal protection during the most legally and emotionally volatile period of his life. "He wasn't chosen by Michael," Kanye said. "He was inserted." According to testimony introduced from the 2011 Conrad Murray trial, Fahim was brought in through industry connections Kanye claimed linked directly back to Sean Diddy Combs. "This wasn't about protection," Kanye said. "It was about control. Access to everything and everyone." Kanye told the court that Fahim Muhammad had unfettered access to Jackson's schedule, his prescription records, his assistants, his children, and most alarmingly, his private fears. He knew where Michael went, what he took, who he spoke to, and what he was afraid of. Then came an accusation that deepened the courtroom's unease. Kanye alleged that in the hours following Michael Jackson's death, Fahim helped clear hard drives and erase security footage from Jackson's mansion in Holmby Hills. Evidence, Kanye said, that has never fully resurfaced. And now, Kanye added, this same man helps Diddy run his empire. From Holmby Hills to Wharton, a shadow career. As jurors scribbled notes, Kanye introduced yet another layer. Fahim Muhammad had once been invited to speak at the Wharton School of Business, one of the most elite financial institutions in the country. "What kind of bodyguard lectures at Wharton?" Kanye asked, narrowing his eyes. "Not one who carries a gun, one who carries a mission." Kanye stopped short of labeling Fahim as an intelligence asset. But he leaned heavily into the implication, suggesting that Fahim Muhammad may have been far more than just a man with a walkie-talkie. He gestured toward patterns, how high-profile artists die, how security and handlers close ranks, how files go missing, and how a select few individuals always seem to emerge with greater control. "Fahim doesn't just keep people out," Kanye said. "He knows how to make people and problems disappear." Lil Rod's lawsuit. The smoking gun? To fortify his claims, Kanye referenced the still unfolding federal civil suit filed by Lil Rod, a lawsuit that alleges Diddy operated a criminal enterprise involving trafficking, coercion, and financial abuse. Named in that lawsuit? Fahim Muhammad, described as the enforcer behind the operation. You think it's a coincidence? Kanye asked. That the same man who watched over Michael's final hours now guards the secrets of another empire? No one in the courtroom had an answer. Not the defense, not Diddy, not even the prosecution, who, according to insiders, have begun requesting subpoena records related to Fahim Muhammad's career history. Tell them it's puffy. Please protect the kids. Kanye West ties handlers, industry power, and Michael Jackson's final plea to Diddy's empire. By the time Kanye West delivered his final line, quoting what he claims were Michael Jackson's last words, the courtroom wasn't just shaken, it was transformed. What began as a federal case against Sean Diddy Combs had now become a full-blown examination of the hidden infrastructures of celebrity control, psychological coercion, and the chilling possibility that some of the biggest names in music never died naturally. First Michael Jackson, Kanye said, then me. Who's next? Handlers, the men behind the curtain. What came next was something Kanye had alluded to for years, but never laid bare in a legal setting. Handlers, shadow agents, industry implants, people embedded in the lives of stars under the guise of friendship or professional necessity. But there for one reason only: control. Kanye pointed to his former trainer, Harley Pasternak, as an example. He recalled a now infamous text message where Harley threatened to send him back to Zombieland if he didn't start behaving. That man threatened to lock me in a psych ward, Kanye told the jury, looking each member in the eye. For not following orders. And then came the parallel. Michael had his own Harley, Kanye said, except his version didn't just threaten to drug him. He had the keys to his house, his medicine cabinet, and his fate. That man, Kanye insisted, was Fahim Muhammad, Michael Jackson's final head of security, and now the chief of Diddy's private operation. 2 handlers, 2 artists, 1 goal: silence through control. Patterns of collapse. Kanye then laid out what he called the playbook. Michael Jackson acquires half of Sony's catalog, a power move that shifts the balance of the industry. He publicly challenges Tommy Mottola, calls out the system, protests in Europe. Then suddenly, sedatives, illness, and death, with Fahim Muhammad positioned at his side the entire time. You think that's a coincidence? Kanye asked. Then he turned the lens inward. Kanye rises to global dominance, challenges Adidas, Balenciaga, the Grammys, and even Jay-Z. He refuses to back down. Suddenly, he's institutionalized, contracts vanish, and he's told to go back to Zombieland. I became a modern-day Michael, he said, and I saw it happening in real time. The others, Prince, DMX, Whitney Kanye didn't stop at himself or Michael. You think I'm alone? He asked the court. Prince spoke up about masters and power. Then he was gone. DMX told people he was being watched. Gone. Whitney told Brandy not to trust Clive. Gone. And then, he paused. His voice dropped to a whisper. You don't have to believe me. Just look at the pattern. They silence us, and they smile doing it. According to a source seated near the jury box, one juror quietly wiped away tears. At the defense table, Diddy sat motionless, his face blank, his fingers clenched tight around the wood grain. For the first time, he didn't interrupt. He didn't flinch. Tell them it's puffy. Please protect the kids. But the emotional peak came when Kanye turned to what he called the most devastating piece of information he had ever been trusted with. A voicemail. One that had never been made public. Kanye claimed it was Michael Jackson's final message, recorded just days before his death and preserved by a Jackson family insider. I don't feel safe, the voice reportedly says. He's here. I know he is. They're trying to take everything. Then came the quote that cracked the courtroom's composure wide open. Tell them it's Puffy. He knows he's here. Please, protect the kids." Gasps filled the room. Someone in the gallery dropped a notebook. The judge immediately called for order, but no one moved. No one breathed. This wasn't courtroom theater anymore. It was a chilling look into what may have been the final hours of the most famous entertainer in the world. Kanye stood silent for a beat before stepping down. The moment the trial changed, the judge called a recess, but the impact had already landed like a fault line snapping beneath the foundation of the music industry. Diddy's legal team whispered frantically. Reporters sprinted for the hallway. Jurors remained seated, frozen in a quiet, collective shock. It was no longer just about one man's alleged crimes. It was about a system designed to protect the powerful and bury the inconvenient, and Kanye West had just lit a match inside its most sacred chamber. They paint you crazy so they don't have to explain your death. Kanye West connects the final days of Michael, Prince, Whitney, and Left Eye in a chilling courtroom manifesto. As the courtroom settled back in from recess, what Kanye West said next didn't just raise eyebrows. It drew an invisible line between the world's most celebrated music legends and the system Kanye claimed had systematically erased them. At the center of it all? Silence, surveillance, substitution, and security. Michael's death wasn't just a tragedy, Kanye said. It was a business move, and a messy one. The last hours, isolation and reassignment. According to Kanye, in the final days of Michael Jackson's life, the legendary artist was slowly cut off from the people he trusted most. His longtime security staff? Gone. His medical team? Replaced. His home? Monitored, but only selectively. He was surrounded by strangers with security badges, Kanye told the court. Industry plants put in place for control. Again, he pointed to Fahim Muhammad, the relatively unknown figure who, despite being in his early 20s and barely out of Sacramento State, was somehow appointed the head of Jackson's security. Why him? Kanye asked. Why not Michael's trusted people? Who cleared Fahim? Who funded him? Then came a bombshell. The malfunction that never made headlines. Kanye introduced a detail that had gone largely unnoticed in public accounts of Jackson's death. The surveillance system at Michael Jackson's Holmby Hills home reportedly malfunctioned the night he died. No footage, no backup, no time-stamped logs, Kanye said. Just like in the Diddy tunnel, just like that. It's gone. The implication was clear. Erased, not failed. And then Kanye dropped the theory that, in the words of one courtroom observer, felt like a slow-motion detonation. What if Michael wasn't supposed to die from propofol? Kanye asked. What if he was being softened up, prepped for something else, and someone panicked? What if they pulled the plug too soon? The room fell into a paralyzed hush. Kanye described the astronomical financial incentives swirling around Michael's comeback. A global tour that could have shattered records. Ownership of half of Sony ATV's publishing catalog, including rights to the Beatles. Billions in long-term licensing potential. That catalog, Kanye said, voice grim, was worth killing for. And then came the line that felt carved in stone. Michael's death was the cleanest business move Sony ever made. The pattern. A list of the silenced with the jury still processing the implications, Kanye pivoted into what he called the industry's eulogy. Michael, Prince, Whitney, DMX, Amy Winehouse, Lisa, Left Eye, Lopes. He read the names slowly, like tombstones. Each name, he claimed, part of a systematic purge of artists who challenged the establishment. Each one tried to fight back, Kanye said. Each one tried to own their voice. Each one is gone. Prince, warned, watched, wiped out. Kanye reminded the jury that Prince had waged a public war against Warner Brothers, famously changing his name to a symbol and painting the word slave across his face. He warned other artists about contracts that steal your soul. And then he dies alone, Kanye said, in an elevator after telling people someone was watching him. He referenced Prince's final appearances, where he spoke cryptically of moving on and a new phase, his tone distant, reflective, burdened. He knew, Kanye whispered, and nobody listened. Whitney, the whispers before the silence. Kanye then turned to Whitney Houston, tying her death not to overdose or instability, but to knowledge. She told Clive Davis she knew too much, Kanye said, about the freak parties, about the deals, about what Diddy's circle was doing. He pointed out the bizarre optics of Whitney's final night, her body lying upstairs while Clive's pre-Grammy party raged below. They called her erratic. I call her surrounded. They paint you crazy, Kanye told the court, so they don't have to explain your death. Left Eye, the final recording. Kanye saved one of the most unsettling revelations for last. He brought up Lisa Left Eye Lopes, who died in a mysterious car crash in Honduras. Just days before her death, Kanye said, she recorded a video saying she was being followed. He paused. And you know what she said in that video? He asked the jury. Their pens froze. Spirits are warning me. Something's coming. That's what she said. Her car would crash 2 days later. The footage of that day, the exact moment, was recorded and released. She filmed her own death, Kanye said, and still, nobody asked the right questions. The industry didn't just kill Michael, it turned his death into a business model. Kanye West's courtroom allegations ignite a cultural reckoning around Diddy, music power structures, and the price of dissent. By the end of the day, the air inside the federal courtroom no longer felt legal. It felt historic, like the final chapter of a documentary still being written in real time. And the author, on this day, was Kanye West. These weren't coincidences, he said. They were coordinated purges of non-compliant artists. The gallery sat silent, riveted. With the poise of a man unburdened by fear, Kanye didn't just revisit the past, he dragged it into the open. Biggie Smalls, Left Eye, Michael, Prince, Whitney, DMX, Amy. Each, he argued, was a part of a broader pattern, one that points not to tragedy, but to targeting. When you stop being useful to the machine, he told the jury. When you speak out, or you own too much, you become a liability. And then, with unflinching clarity, he named the man who, in his view, sits at the center of the surviving structure. Sean Diddy Combs. Biggie's death, still unsolved and still profitable. You think it's a coincidence, Kanye asked, that Biggie's murder was never solved? That out of everyone from that era, the only one still standing tall is Diddy? No one interrupted, not even the defense. Kanye called Bad Boy Entertainment a facade, a polished storefront for what he called one of the most protected empires in music history. He pointed to Lil Rod's civil lawsuit, which alleges Diddy orchestrated criminal parties laced with sex trafficking, coercion, and drugs. That's not the full picture, Kanye said. That's just the surface. The true operation: power, influence, and erasure. According to Kanye, the real empire Diddy runs isn't built on hits, it's built on leverage. He described a multi-tiered network designed not to entertain, but to intimidate, monitor, and when needed, eliminate. This is why people disappear, Kanye stated. This is why lawsuits vanish. You can't fight it with lawyers. You fight it with a spotlight. Then came the most unnerving claim of all. Diddy keeps ties with executives, politicians, former intelligence agents, the same kind that clean up messes and close mouths. He claimed the federal raids on Diddy's homes only scratched the surface. I've seen parts of the footage, Kanye said. Tunnels, documents, names. Some of them are still in the industry. Some of them run the industry. Some of them are in this courtroom. The Pyramid of Silence: How the Empire Operates. Kanye then unveiled what he called the pyramid, a structure of influence with layers: assistants, stylists, producers, trainers, bodyguards, attorneys. Each one, he argued, was not just an employee, but a node of surveillance and compliance. "You're not allowed to leave," he said. "You're not allowed to talk. And if you do, you'll never work again." Or worse. At the top of that silent structure, Kanye claimed, was Fahim Mohammed, a name he invoked with cold precision. He's the one who makes the calls, who clears the phones, who tells you to shut up or sleep forever. Then came the dagger. Fahim was there when Michael died. Fahim is here now. What's changed? And with that, Kanye delivered the quote that, by every measure, will be engraved in the history of this trial. The industry didn't just kill Michael. It turned his death into a business model. Diddy's silence and the crack in the mask. The courtroom didn't stir. Even the judge, according to a source close to the proceedings, momentarily lowered her eyes, exhaling sharply. At the defense table, Diddy sat still. But something had changed. His jaw clenched, his fingers twitching, his lips whispering furiously to his legal team. Gone was the impassive mogul. The man who once ran red carpets with champagne and swagger was now watching his empire tremble from the inside. Kanye's words didn't just accuse, they elevated the trial. No longer was this simply a federal case. It was a moral indictment of a system. One built not just on royalties and records, but on fear, surveillance, and the currency of silence. And for the first time, that silence was being pierced by a man who refused to go back to zombie land. You watch the king fall. Kanye West's accusation shatters the courtroom and sparks a Jackson family uprising. The words weren't screamed. They didn't need to be, certainly. Here's a concise, emotionally resonant summary of the latest developments in American English. In a dramatic climax to his testimony, Kanye West stared directly at Sean Diddy Combs and accused him of profiting from Michael Jackson's death. The courtroom fell into stunned silence as Kanye recounted private conversations with Jackson, in which the pop icon described being followed and betrayed by someone inside his home. Someone he didn't hire and didn't trust. That person, Kanye alleged, was Fahim Mohammed. His calm, unwavering testimony shifted the atmosphere entirely. What had once seemed like a meltdown now read as a calculated reckoning. Kanye claimed Jackson was worth more dead than alive, and implied Diddy's empire grew stronger in the wake of his death. Within minutes, headlines erupted across the media, and the Jackson family broke their long silence. Jermaine declared, "My brother was murdered," while LaToya offered to testify under oath. Then came the most chilling piece of evidence yet, a leaked AEG email stating, "He doesn't need to be well. He just needs to get through the press conference," dated 3 months before Jackson's death. Legal experts now speculate that Kanye's testimony, combined with the email and mounting family support, could spark new criminal investigations into Jackson's death and force a long-overdue reckoning with the industry powers behind it. As Kanye West concluded his testimony, he invoked the pyramid, a covert system of assistants, bodyguards, lawyers, and enforcers, all allegedly working to silence and surveil on behalf of industry power players. At its peak, he named Fahim Mohammed, accusing him of orchestrating who gets protected and who vanishes. With that, Kanye pointed directly at Diddy, declaring he didn't just survive Michael Jackson's death, he benefited from it. The courtroom sat stunned. What had begun as a celebrity trial had become a sweeping indictment of the music industry's machinery of control. Kanye's revelations reopened public scrutiny into Jackson's death, with former staff now coming forward claiming suspicious activity at his mansion and new questions swirling around Fahim Mohammed's long-overlooked role. A leaked AEG email, "He just needs to make it through opening night," underscored the chilling allegation that Jackson had become a disposable asset. Now Fahim, once a minor figure in the Conrad Murray case, is front and center as investigators reportedly revisit Jackson's files. This isn't just a trial anymore, it's a reckoning with the systems that bury artists as easily as they built them. As media outlets scrambled to unpack Kanye West's explosive testimony, public sentiment began to shift dramatically. Once dismissed as erratic, Kanye's claims, suggesting a pattern of control and silencing in the entertainment industry, gained traction amid the ongoing Diddy trial. Viral quotes, renewed interest in the Cassie Ventura and Lil Rod cases, and an unexpected wave of support from the Jackson family, including emotional statements from Jermaine, LaToya, and Michael Jackson's children, transformed the courtroom narrative into a larger cultural reckoning. Allegations that once seemed far-fetched now echoed with eerie consistency. The industry's so-called machine was being exposed, a system that elevated genius, then buried it when it became inconvenient. Protesters gathered, panels debated, and inside the courthouse, the judge weighed whether this case could spark a wider federal probe. If even part of Kanye's testimony proves true, linking Diddy to broader efforts to silence Michael Jackson, it won't just rewrite headlines. It could mark the fall of an entire era,